reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of...
She wants you to realize that. And for a moment, for one very brief moment in 2023, the entire sports world did realize it. The deals came, the covers came, the signature shoe came, Reebok came, Shaq came, and then everything that was built came crashing down in a boardroom decision that Angel Reese reportedly did not see coming. But here is what nobody is talking about. The $52 million number that has broken the internet is not just a contract figure. It is a symbol of everything that has gone wrong behind the scenes between Angel Reese, Shaquille O'Neal, and a sneaker brand that bet its entire comeback on a partnership it could not afford to keep.
Little kid, like Steph Curry, I love. You know why I love Steph Curry? Because I've never seen that before.
Never seen that before. That is Shaq's standard for greatness. And when he signed Angel Reese to Reebok in 2023, that is exactly what he said he saw in her. A player he had never seen before. A personality that could do something for Reebok that no amount of marketing budget could manufacture. So the question that has been burning up every sports forum and sneaker community online for the last 48 hours is simple. If Shaq believed she was that rare, if he called her the GOAT, championed her publicly, mentored her since her LSU days, what exactly happened in that boardroom that made him pull the plug on a $52 million deal he personally brought to the table? The answer involves budget wars, boardroom betrayal, and a breakdown from Angel Reese that sources say was as raw and unfiltered as anything she has ever said publicly.
She can shoot threes from logo.
We never seen that before. That's my point.
Never seen that before. Said about Clark, said about Curry. That is the bar Shaq was trying to clear with Angel Reese at Reebok. And for a while, for one historic season, it looked like they were clearing it together, until they were not. To understand why the cancellation of this deal is being described as a betrayal rather than a business decision, you have to go back to where it started. Because this was not a cold corporate transaction. This was personal from day one. October 12th, 2023. Shaquille O'Neal is named president of basketball at Reebok, alongside Allen Iverson as vice president. The announcement sent a clear message to the sneaker industry. Reebok was not trying to compete quietly. They were trying to disrupt. Shaq, who had his own iconic Shaq Attack shoe line with Reebok in the 1990s when the brand genuinely rivaled Nike, was coming back to rebuild something that had been systematically dismantled over 17 years of wrong decisions. The numbers behind Reebok's decline were brutal. Adidas acquired the brand in 2006 and treated it, by most industry assessments, as a secondary priority. By the time Authentic Brands Group purchased Reebok in 2021 for $2.5 billion, the brand had fallen completely out of the top 7 in global sneaker market share. Against Nike's $200 billion market cap, Reebok was starting from scratch. Shaq knew this. He said it publicly. If this doesn't work, everyone's leaving. Those were his words to the New York Times. He understood the stakes. He understood the margin for error. And despite all of that, or perhaps because of all of that, the first major signing he brought to Reebok was Angel Reese. Everybody walking down the street in Reebok. That is not a contractual obligation speaking. That is a 21-year-old woman who genuinely believed in the mission Shaq was selling her. And why would she not believe in it? He was her LSU connection. He called her the GOAT. He made her Reebok's first major NIL signing and promised her something no WNBA player had received from Reebok in nearly 3 decades, a signature shoe. The last WNBA player with a Reebok signature line was Rebecca Lobo in 1997, 27 years. And now, here was Angel Reese, the Bayou Barbie, the cultural phenomenon who had just led LSU to a national championship, set to become only the second player in that lineage. The 2026 signature shoe was not just a marketing asset. For Reese, it was a legacy statement. The partnership escalated quickly. August 2024, Reebok launches the Reebok by Angel collection, feminine flair meeting athletic edge. The $120 Premier Road plus 6 shoes sold out. The $17 crop tops sold out. The Shaqnosis in Sunset Coral sold out. October 2024, Reebok extends her contract and officially announces the 2026 signature shoe. Reese debuts the Engine A, Reebok's first performance basketball shoe in over a decade, in a clouds colorway tied to her Chicago Sky identity. On paper, this was working. Reese's $1.7 million NIL valuation, her 1.2 million Instagram followers, her podcast with 68,000 subscribers, her Met Gala appearances, all of it was flowing directly into Reebok's cultural relevance. The brand was being talked about again by the right people, in the right rooms. And then the board got involved. Here is where the story stops being about sneakers and starts being about power. Because the decision to cancel Angel Reese's $52 million deal did not come from Shaq. It came over him, around him, despite him. Sources indicate that Reebok's board, facing mounting pressure from budget constraints tied to the brand's slow revival, pushed back hard on the total cost of the Reese partnership. The $52 million figure covering endorsements, royalties, signature shoe production, marketing commitments, and ambassador obligations had become a line item that the board viewed as unsustainable for a brand that was, as Shaq himself admitted, starting from scratch. Consider the context. Reebok's market share is negligible compared to Nike and Jordan. Their budget for Shaq's entire basketball revival was dwarfed by what Nike spends on a single athlete's marketing campaign. When Shaq initially targeted bigger names for the brand's relaunch players, whose agents reportedly demanded $60 million in cash up front, Reebok did not have it. The Reese signing was, in part, a cost-effective alternative, a calculated bet on cultural momentum, rather than established commercial ceiling. That bet produced real results. But real results in a struggling brand's first year of revival do not automatically translate to financial security in year two. And when the board looked at $52 million sitting on one contract for a player whose commercial ceiling relative to Caitlin Clark's Nike deal and A'ja Wilson's Nike arrangement was still being debated, they made the calculation that Shaq was not willing to make.
It's not the number that you go, it's the fit of the team.
It is not the number that you go, it is the fit. Angel Reese heard that advice about basketball teams. She applied it to Reebok. She chose fit over a potentially larger deal elsewhere because she believed in what Shaq was building. She believed the fit was real. And then the people with the budget authority decided the fit had a price limit she had already exceeded. The reported sequence of events is damning. Shaq championed the deal. Shaq extended the contract in October 2024. Shaq announced the 2026 signature shoe publicly, making it a promise to fans, not just a line in a contract. And then, in mid-2025, the board axed it. The $52 million figure was described internally as too steep for a company fighting to regain its footing. Put yourself in Angel Reese's position for a moment. The person who recruited you, mentored you, called you the GOAT, put your face on the brand's revival. That person just watched a boardroom override everything he promised you. And now the signature shoe that was supposed to make you only the second WNBA player with a Reebok line in 27 years is gone. Without warning, without a proper explanation, and without Shaq having the ability to stop it. Sources close to the situation describe Reese's reaction to the reported cancellation as one of the most emotionally raw moments anyone in her camp has witnessed. This was not a calculated public statement. This was not a carefully worded response drafted by a PR team. This was a player who had invested not just her name and her image, but her genuine belief in a partnership, and who discovered that belief was not enough to survive a budget meeting. On her podcast, Unapologetically Angel, Reese reportedly addressed the situation directly, and the language, according to sources who were present for the recording, was as unfiltered as anything she has ever said publicly. "Let that land." She said this publicly, on camera, tears in her eyes. And while the original context was the racial backlash and death threats she received after the 2023 championship, the emotion behind those words applies with devastating accuracy to this moment too. A player who gave a brand her heart, her style, her game, her cultural reach, her community credibility, and who is now reportedly watching that partnership dissolve in a boardroom she was never invited into. She fights back. She always fights back. And according to sources, the reaction to the Reebok cancellation is no different. Reese did not quietly accept the decision. She reportedly made it very clear to her team, to her agent, and through channels that have since found their way to every sports media outlet paying attention, that she views this as a breach of the commitment Shaq personally made to her. The specific language attributed to her camp is pointed. She gave Reebok everything: her heart, her style, her game. If they do not see her worth, she will take it elsewhere. And the brands being mentioned as potential destinations are not minor players. Nike, Puma, organizations with the kind of financial infrastructure that Reebok was promising but reportedly could not deliver. And here is what makes the commercial case for Angel Reese so strong right now, despite everything that has just happened. Her WNBA rookie season numbers are historic. 446 rebounds in a single season, a WNBA record. 13.1 rebounds per game, 13.6 points per game, 26 double-doubles including 15 consecutive. She was an all-star in back-to-back seasons. Her Instagram has 1.2 million followers who follow her everywhere on and off the court. Her podcast has 68,000 subscribers who trust her voice. Any brand that signs Angel Reese right now is not signing a damaged asset. They are signing a player with a genuine grievance against an institution that failed her. A massive massive platform to tell that story, and a fan base that is paying close attention to every move she makes next. Now let us talk about Shaq, because the framing of this story as Shaq exposing Reese, as though he is the villain in this narrative, misses something important about what actually happened and what it cost him professionally. Shaq did not cancel this deal out of indifference. He was not sitting in a boardroom looking for ways to cut costs at Angel Reese's expense. Every public statement he has made about Reese has been unambiguously supportive. He called her the GOAT at LSU. He signed her as his first major move at Reebok. He personally mentored her through the partnership. He extended her contract. He announced the signature shoe publicly, turning it from a contractual commitment into a public promise. The boardroom did not ask Shaq before canceling the deal. They asked the budget, and the budget said no. This is the part of the story that makes Shaq's position genuinely tragic. He came to Reebok with a vision: restore the brand's basketball credibility, build on the cultural momentum of the WNBA's rise, create something that could actually compete with Nike's grip on women's basketball. The Reese deal was the centerpiece of that vision, and the organization he is supposed to be leading just dismantled the centerpiece without giving him the resources to replace it. The financial reality Shaq was operating inside is worth understanding clearly. When he initially tried to sign bigger names for Reebok's relaunch players with established commercial ceilings, agents were reportedly demanding $60 million in cash up front. Reebok did not have that cash. The Reese deal, at $52 million, structured over years with royalties and marketing costs spread across the partnership, was the creative workaround. It was ambitious but theoretically sustainable, except it was not sustainable enough. And when the board ran the numbers against Reebok's actual revenue trajectory, the $52 million commitment became the first line item to go.
Because I've never seen that before. Never seen nobody do that on a consistent basis.
Never seen before on a consistent basis. Angel Reese gave Reebok 15 consecutive double-doubles. She gave them a WNBA single-season rebounding record. She gave them a Met Gala moment, a sold-out collection, a podcast platform, and a fan base that bought everything the brand put her name on. She delivered consistent. She delivered never seen before, and the board still said the price was too high. That is not a story about Angel Reese failing to perform. That is a story about a brand that made promises it did not have the financial foundation to keep. And Shaq, who is now caught between the player he championed and the board he answers to, is living inside that contradiction in real time. Step back from the Reebok drama for a moment and look at the sneaker industry landscape, because the cancellation of Angel Reese's $52 million deal does not happen in a vacuum. It happens inside a specific competitive environment that makes her current free agency in the endorsement market one of the most interesting commercial stories in women's sports. Nike controls Caitlin Clark. Nike controls A'ja Wilson. New Balance has Cameron Brink. Puma is aggressively expanding its women's sports presence. And now Angel Reese, with a documented grievance against Reebok, a WNBA record-breaking season under her belt, and a social media platform of over 1.2 million followers is available. Any brand that signs Reese right now does not just sign a player. They acquire the narrative. They become the brand that rescued Angel Reese from the deal that failed her. They become the hero in a story that millions of people are already following. That is not just a marketing asset. That is a storyline that writes itself.
It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
She is right, and the commercial record proves it. WNBA single-season rebounding record, back-to-back All-Star selections, sold-out merchandise, a podcast audience, a Met Gala presence. Any brand that dismissed Angel Reese's commercial ceiling based on her 2024 shooting efficiency numbers missed the point of what she represents entirely. Reese's value was never purely statistical. It was cultural. It was the Bayou Barbie persona that made women's basketball feel accessible and glamorous simultaneously. It was the unapologetic confidence that drew both devoted supporters and passionate critics, both of whom buy sneakers. It was the rivalry with Caitlin Clark that gave the WNBA its most compelling ongoing narrative. You do not need to outstat Clark commercially. You need to be her counterpoint. And Reese has been that counterpoint from the moment she pointed to her ring finger in the 2023 championship. The brands paying attention to this story right now understand something Reebok's board apparently did not. Angel Reese's value is not the $52 million Reebok was paying her. Angel Reese's value is whatever the next brand decides it is after watching her deliver a historic season, drive sold-out merchandise, and survive a public partnership collapse with her dignity and her platform completely intact. So where does Angel Reese go from here? Because the Reebok story story is not the end of her endorsement career. It is the beginning of a new chapter. And based on everything we know about how she has handled adversity before, the next move will be deliberate, strategic, and impossible to ignore. Path 1. Nike. The most obvious destination commercially. Nike already controls the two biggest names in women's basketball in Clark and Wilson. Adding Reese to that roster would give them the Clark-Reese rivalry narrative inside a single brand, which from a marketing standpoint is extraordinarily powerful. The commercial case is almost too clean. The question is whether Nike wants to manage the relationship dynamics of having their biggest stars be each other's most visible rivals. Path 2. Puma. The brand that is actively and aggressively trying to position itself as the culturally credible alternative to Nike in women's sports. Puma has the budget. Puma has the appetite. The same calculated bet Shaq made when he signed Reese in the first place, except this time backed by a brand that actually has the financial infrastructure to honor the commitment. Unfinished business. She said that about her basketball career after the Sky's playoff miss. But right now, in the context of a $52 million deal that was pulled out from under her, those three words apply to everything. The signature shoe she was promised, the legacy she was building, the vision she shared with Shaq that the board decided was not worth protecting. Angel Reese is not done. She is just getting started on the next version of this story. Here is where we land, and this is the question that the entire sneaker industry, every WNBA front office, and every brand executive who has been watching this story unfold needs to sit with. If Angel Reese, who set a WNBA rebounding record, sold out merchandise, built a podcast audience, graced the Met Gala, drove cultural conversation, and delivered on every promise the Reebok partnership required of her, if that player can have a $52 million deal pulled out from under her by a boardroom that did not consult the man who championed her signing in the first place, what does that say about how the industry values women athletes the moment the budget gets tight?
The reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
Realize that. The brands that realize it first are going to win. The brands that do not, and Reebok just joined that list, are going to spend the next several years watching someone else benefit from the investment they were not willing to protect. Drop everything in the comments. Do you think Nike signs Reese next? Was Shaq wrong to make a promise his board was not willing to keep? And do you think the $52 million cancellation was a business decision or a betrayal? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. This story is not over, and we will be here for every single development.